ahead and get us started this morning. If we could give Polly with a Y, our attention with True Homes. I know my team, we are big fans of True Homes. If you've never sold one, A, they build a great product. B, they are wonderful to work with. Their staff, their design center, all of it have been great. We've sold several in the Benson Village. We've done several in Flower Plantation. We've used your homes as a model home for pictures and stuff. So just we appreciate our partnership with True Homes. They're really good brokers. So listen to everything that she has to say.
Well, thank you. That was a lovely introduction. Yeah, as she mentioned, my name is Polly Anderson, and we're going to talk about a little bit. She kind of answered the why True Homes question, but I'll go into it a little bit as well. So let's talk about who I am. So I always like to say who you're working with because I think that's important. We know this business is all about relationships. So I like you to know who that I am so you know who you're working with. So just kind of some pictures. So this is my husband. He's a North Carolina guy. I am actually from Oklahoma City, and my thunder just won the national championship. So that's common here. Yeah, so I married a Wolfpack, North Carolina guy, so that is why I'm here. We have a 3-year-old granddaughter who lives in the Charlotte area, and I love to bake. So sometimes I may drop baking goods off. If you come visit me, I may have them in the model. I like to bake a lot. So a little bit about me and what I like, and then a little bit about True Homes. So our mission is to be uniquely exceptional in how we relate with clients, associates, trade partners, and community. And you guys are our clients. Brokers are really important to True Homes, and we'll get into that a little bit more as well. 95% of our customers would refer us to friends or family, which is something that's very important to us. That's something that is a metric that everybody who works for True Homes, from the builder, to our warranty team, to our sales associates, we have a minimum we have to hit. So it's really important to our leadership as well. 80% of our clients come from our broker partnerships. So we value those relationships because we know that you're important to what we do. And you can see 80% you're crucial to the business that we run in the Carolinas. For the largest private builder in the Carolinas, we build over 2,000 homes a year. The same guys who started us based in Monroe, North Carolina, are the same guys who still run us and are very involved. They come to our models every quarter to check things out. We do corporate gatherings. So it's very important to be privately held and be based in North Carolina to our leadership, which really helps us as we deal with clients on a day-to-day basis. And then, like I said, we sold over 2,000 homes last year. If you're not familiar with True Homes, we are a semi-custom builder. So I feel like this graphic is a good way to explain to you and maybe to explain to your client kind of how we're a little bit different. So on the end over here is going to be the custom builder, which most of our clients just can't afford, right? You're talking millions and millions of dollars. It's endless options. They can do whatever they want to do. Over here, you kind of have the production builder, which is great for clients too, but you get what you get. A lot of spec homes, a lot of inventory. So we're kind of pushing those things together and create a good mix of those. So we call it many choices with a make you smile price. So the people that are at a production budget, but they want to do things like, can I add an extra window? Can I do things that maybe others couldn't do? Can I do 10-foot ceilings on the first floor and the second floor? Yeah, we can do those things. So we provide a lot of options. One of the things we say is we never build the same house twice. If you've driven through a neighborhood, you'll notice that each home is very unique to the person of either who's living in it or a design studio who creates those homes to be individual and not just like your neighbor's house next door. So this is kind of a move. This is where we are. Right now, we have 8 communities that we are selling in the Triangle-ish area. You notice we have a lot located down here, down south. Our Anger and our Mason, our Irwin community are coming on in the next 30 days. We'll also have a Wendell community coming on in the spring, kind of waiting for all that to, plat maps and all that fun stuff to get done. But I'm actually going to be sitting in our Irwin community. We're going to have homes in the 270s down there. So it is a great price point for those that maybe you've been struggling a little bit. And it's only about, 10 minutes past Benson. So it's pretty close.
Yeah. So you're on the Johnson County side of Irwin. Not
Harnett. We're in Harnett.
Okay. No, yeah, but closer to Johnson or Cumberland.
We're actually like almost right by Dunn. We're literally Cheryl Lane right to Dunn, so right off the highway.
Okay.
So it's a great location for clients. So that's the neighborhood I'll be sitting in. I'm hoping in a week, so everyone keep your fingers crossed that everything goes well. That's where I'll be. Our model's already up and going. It's going to be great down there. We do big grand opening events. And so if there's a way, if you guys want to leave me a card, I'm also doing a giveaway for a True Homes Cup, but I'll make sure you're on our distribution list to get invited to our grand openings and anything else that we have. You guys can leave that with me. But thank you so much. So this is kind of the neighborhoods that we're in currently, and that's what I put on the table. It's got my contact information on it as well. So our core broker program, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but we have a core broker program that lets you, we sat down and had a meeting and talked about what your goals are and what True Homes is. And then you sell a home with us, you can be a core broker. So a core broker is you basically get invited to a broker party, which I'm going to show you a video of because it's like unbelievable, like $300,000 worth of cash and prizes are given away at this thing. We bus everybody to Charlotte. So it's pretty cool. Once you become a core broker, your next client will get $1,000 design studio credit. We always, as long as your buyer agency reflects it, pay 3% commission. So that's something that has never wavered in good times or bad times, however you define that. We've always and will continue to pay 3% commission because we value those relationships. And then we're also a one-stop shop. So I know a lot of builders that you go to, you have to figure out who's in the neighborhood, who's on, who do I call? They change neighborhoods, they've moved. You can call me for every single neighborhood we have. You don't have to figure out who's in the neighborhood. I can help you. I'm an expert on all of our neighborhoods. I can help you in so if you need anything, if you have questions about where a client could go, I can help you with any of that, what our current inventory is in all the neighborhoods, what our programs look like, anything like that. I can help you with that. And let's see if this, and this is just a little snippet broker party. Everybody see it? So we rent this arena in Charlotte. We bus everybody. So we meet at a location in the Raleigh area. And I think before people got off the bus, everybody had at least a couple $100 in cash before we even got to the party because we do prizes and giveaways on the bus. And then we get there, we play all the kind of games. There's a raffle. We do lunch, photo booth, all that fun stuff. And then we go into the little game room right there and we head to head some like fun games like blowing a ping pong ball in solo cups and all kinds of fun things. The grand prize winner of the raffle walked out with a $27,000 in a duffel bag. Had to have security walk the smart. The grand prize is $27,000. Yeah. So pretty fun. We have a good time. Right. And let's see if I get to this. Right. Trying to just fast forward it. Maybe. There we go. And that is it. So that is really I was just going to say, this is my contact information. It's also on that sheet right there. I'm going to, as I leave, I'm going to pass out some inventory so you can see all of the current inventory. Most of what we do is client build. So 80% of our neighborhoods are going to be your client picks the lot, the floor plan, design studio, all the customization they want to do. But we also know you have some clients that do need that 30 to 60 day move in. So we definitely have some of those as well. But if you ever want to get together and learn more about True Homes or how I can help you, I'd love to buy you coffee, wine, or breakfast or lunch or whatever, and just chat more about it. Before my time is up, does anybody have any questions for me? Perfect. Well, if you do, you have my contact information. And yeah, and enjoy lunch, of course. I'm just gonna pass you that, and then I'll get out there.
But I'm just going to go ahead and get us kicked off. Thank you again, Holly. That is amazing. And like I said, if you don't have it as an agent on your goals list to go visit new construction communities in your area, that needs to be the first thing you write down today. If you don't know much about me, I cut my teeth on new construction, was brought into the business by a builder, and there is a lot that goes into working with builders, working with new construction. But the best thing you can do is make yourself familiar with the new construction communities. And again, I can't say enough great things about True and how they treat your clients and make you look like a hero. We've probably all dealt with some of the bigger builders that are just crap to work with. You got to treat your client like a number. And I've worked with them, I've worked for them. So it is great to have a business partner like True where you know that they're going to take care of you, they're going to take care of your clients, and we don't ever have to kind of fight for our value, for lack of better word. So, but all of that to say, spend some time in all of the new construction communities that are around you. Make yourself familiar, because if you meet one buyer, they need to know about everything, not just one community. And to a point, and there's a new community coming up, that is liquid gold, because there's not all the information out on the internet everywhere yet. Go ahead and make yourself the local expert. And then you'll see communities like this, they'll start leaning on you. I mean, I know we've got a great working relationship, like I said, with True. When people do come through, they don't want to work with buyers. They don't represent buyers themselves. They're not in general brokerage. So make good relationships with all of these communities around you, and especially the on-site agent. So yeah, thank you.
social media, we have beautiful models.
Yeah. We have used them for many of our team pictures and
You guys.
lifestyle. So, all right, well, let's talk about what y'all can talk about. Who is already like goals are written down, goals are done. I mean, check boxes are ready. Like we're only 7 days in, we're one full week into January 2026, and you're already just locked in on your goals. Who's there? Yeah, I love to hear it. Did anybody find goal setting for an entire year overwhelming? Yeah, it's hard. And I will say, if you've never heard me talk about goal setting, make sure the first thing you're setting with your goals are your personal, your health, you're not just your financial, but we got to remember that we work to live, we don't live for. And so if you are not setting some personal, financial, family goals first, then why are you doing this to begin with? So I'll get off that soapbox, but so the 12-week year is something I did at the beginning of last year, and it was something I needed because if you look at my goals list, it's not up here for a reason because it's 3.5 pages long of check boxes. I'm a very detailed goal planner. If I say I'm going to read 24 books a year, I need to write out what those 24 books are. Granted, I can change it any time. If something pops up and I'm like, I'm going to replace on one, I am that detail oriented. Not everyone else needs to be. But the whole point of this book and the whole point of this exercise that we're going to go through is the money is in the details. The money is in actually executing and getting things done. We can write it down. We can wish all day long, but if we don't execute a goal, is exactly that. It's just a wish. So let me grab this. Does everybody have a workbook? We're going to jump into that in a little bit. If not, we can get some more packed around. But I just kind of want to talk about, I'm going to save you the time, even though the 12-week year is a really easy read. It's a very short book, and I meant to bring it, but it's at home because I was redoing my quarters when I was doing my goal setting last week. So I don't have it with me, but if you've never bought it, it's very good, quick, easy read. But I'll give you the Cliff Notes versions essentially. So stop planning, start executing 12 weeks at a time. So why actual goals fail you? So several of y'all said when you think about putting goals out for a year, it's overwhelming. Not only is it overwhelming in the beginning when you do it, who has ever gotten to September and said, crap? Because now we were talking about we have a 5 a.m. call that we do. And we were going through our goals this week. And she said, I have a goal to lose a pound a week. And I'm like, that is a great goal. It doesn't sound like it at first. But if I were to tell you I'm going to lose 52 pounds this year, that sounds very overwhelming, doesn't it? 1 pound a week sounds like nothing. That sounds like, so I skipped 2 bowls of ice cream and I should be good. Don't wish our metabolism works like that. They don't quite. And neither do our businesses. So you can skip all the ice cream, you can skip all the appointments, but if you're not staying hyper focused all the time, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in August, September, October, and then you're going, well, there went that. And then what do you want to do? You automatically want to take off for the holidays because it's September, October. What comes next? November, December. So now you're like, well, my year's shot. And that's how you end up going, there's always next year. And then you end up at the end of next year going, well, crap, that didn't get done either. So anyway, I'm here to keep y'all from doing that, for lack of a better word. So annual goals create a dangerous illusion, which is the false urgency of 12 months. Well, who else thinks December feels forever away? My gosh, who still has their Christmas decorations up? Let's be real.
I just took the Christmas tree out of here.
Thank you. You put on my list. That didn't happen. But I mean, it's really hard to think about. December is going to be here in 358 days. Anyway, I'm not good at math, but anyway. When deadlines feel distant, we procrastinate. We tell ourselves there's time until there isn't. So the 12-week year compresses time to create focus, energy, and execution. You don't need more time. You need better use of the 12 weeks that you have. So if you know me well, you know I live and die by a quarter. I talk about things like you would think I had a quarterly review to a boss every year because I'm like, well, next quarter, we're going to do this. We're going to put this on the list for Q3. And I literally do that when I make up my goals. My 3.5 pages on my goals, it says Q1, Q2. It says Q3. So I'm already saying, hey, I want to get this done, but I already know in my brain, I don't have to really focus on it until Q3 because I've already blocked out what's most important in Q1 and Q2. So defining your 12-week vision, this is not a to-do list. It is a crystal clear picture of what success looks like at the end of 12 weeks. So the first thing you got to do, and this is with any goal setting, is what does winning look like? And what does a quarter of that success look like? So again, I'm going to use that weight loss analogy. So again, if you think of you're breaking out 12 pounds in a quarter, that sounds like nothing. I mean, again, I feel like I could skip 2 bowls of ice cream and lose 12 pounds in a week, but it doesn't happen that way. And it's the same, like I said, with our businesses. So specifically, what are you trying to accomplish? So does anybody want to give me an example of a goal related to business other than this weight loss one that I'm using? I mean, we all have a goal to sell a certain amount of houses every year.
Follow up.
Okay. So let's expand on what follow-up means, because everybody in this room can be better at follow-up, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what does follow-up mean? And this is where it gets important that you get very specific. So what does follow-up mean to you? What is your follow-up now?
So follow up now is not that great. More so following up with past clients.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is just reach out to them during holidays, like Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stuff like that. But what I would like to do is be more consistent when reaching out and kind of be more thoughtful with it, understanding where they are and explaining things or saying things that, they're interested in knowing.
Right. So how often is consistent?
Maybe once every 3 months.
Okay. Perfect. That we're talking about breaking things down into quarters. Who are you going to reach out to? You said past clients. Where are you going to start?
Going to start with the ones that I like the most.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you for going through this exercise, because we're going the long way around to get here. But the point is, we all set a goal of we want to be better at follow-up. But if we don't tell ourselves specifically what does that mean, this is why I'm going to keep asking you these questions. So for me, follow it back with past clients. And I'm going to echo that, because I don't even want to know the amount of money that I have lost because I did not follow up with my past clients enough. Like, I can look back and reflect now that I feel like I have enough people that we can all start touching them. I'm like, the amount of people that have sold that I didn't follow up with. And that's completely on me, because I got busy focusing on new business. Y'all, that's the biggest waste of money in this entire industry, is being so hyper focused on new business that you forget to focus on the ones that already love and know and care and trust you. I tell this to new agents all the time. You're going to work yourself slam to death to try to get new business, when what you really want to work is your sphere, because you're going to work with these internet leads who treat you like crap because they don't know and love and trust you already. That's the same with our past clients. And everybody's like, I want to get to where you're at, where the phone just rings and the business comes in because people automatically call you. I'm like, that's all those sphere and past clients. But most of us are too busy chasing the low-hanging fruit, which is a new lead, an internet lead, a hot lead, a this, a that. The money, the magic is in those people that already know you and love you and trust you. I'm going to step down off that soapbox, but thank you for bringing me down this path. So one of the best things I heard several years ago when I had this as a goal of myself, I sat down, I was like, my past clients is 4,000 people. I can't reach out to 4,000 people. Where do I start? Start with the alphabet. Start with the clients. A, B, C. I'm going to make a goal that the first week I'm going to hit A through C. The second week I'm going to hit D through F. The third week I'm going to hit G. And so you need to figure out, what does reaching out to them look like? So if you don't have 4,000, if you've got 100, okay, again, there's 52 weeks in a year. That's 2 people a week that you're touching. You don't have to wait for a holiday. Who got random messages from random people all holiday season? How distracted were you already? And thought, the last thing I have is time to talk to somebody who I don't already have a relationship with, because in the holidays, you're supposed to be spending time with people we do have relationships with. So you can't just wait for holidays. It's a great time. I'm never going to tell you to take that out of your business plan, because it is a great time to show appreciation and gratitude. It's not a time to ask for business. The time to ask for business was the 9 months leading up into the holidays. So when you reach out and you send them a Christmas card, they're like, my favorite realtor. Hear from her all the time. Love her. Wouldn't think of using anybody else. So specific. When you tell me you want to follow up with your clients, I want to know how many. I want to know how you're going to follow up with them. Is it going to be a Facebook post? Is it going to be a phone call? Has everybody heard the 555? Lauren, are you going to tell them what 555 is?
So, I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be, but my 555 is 5 phone calls, 5 texts, 5 Facebook or Instagram messages, reach outs, whatever, 5 acts of service, and 5 handwritten cards.
So if you can imagine, that was essentially 25 touches. That does not sound overwhelming if you're breaking it down over a week. You could break it down over a day, depending on how many clients you have, how much you need to get accomplished. The biggest thing is I'm trying to help you understand is get specific and then figure out how we're going to break it down even farther. So measurable. So again, going back to this goal, follow up with more past clients. How do you measure that? If you don't have an actionable plan, how do you measure that? Who sits down at the end of the month and goes, I am really glad I talked to 722 people? Does anybody? No, we don't go back through. We don't take that time to sit down and audit ourselves. So that's the other thing this is going to have us implementing is our own audits. And then actionable, implementing a daily lead follow-up system. So again, thank you for letting me use your example. We got past clients. Let's say we have 100 past clients. We're already committing to 5 a week, 1 a day. First thing you do at 9 a.m. in the morning, stop that one person, check, done, move on. See how you can break down any of your goals into this same way. And I know this sounds stupid simple. It gets a little bit more in depth, and that's why I'm glad we have the workbooks, because it's really going to show you how to get very tactical and deep in the weeds and make sure that you're doing this. So less is more. No more than 3 goals per 12-week cycle, and each goal must be specific, measurable, and time-bound to exactly 12 weeks. Now, I put SMART goals in here just in case somebody's ever or is not familiar with SMART goals. But any goal needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So if the same person this morning on my 5 a.m. call said, I'm going to lose 250 pounds this year, we ought to have been like, that's real achievable, that, or 100 pounds this year, but doesn't have a plan in place on how they're going to do it. We're going to talk to them about, okay, how are you going to lose 100 pounds? So make sure it's something that's achievable, and make sure it's something that's relevant. Make sure it's something that you want to do. The amount of agents I talk to that say, well, I've really got to do 30 pop buys. Okay, why are you doing pop buys? Well, everybody else is doing pop buys. They do pop buys and they have good luck. I said, does your life support you being able to ride around and drop? Because I did pop buys for years. But when you get to a point where you've had 2,000 past clients, you can't hit all your past clients. And so then you have to figure out how I'm actually going to hit them. And then I had to figure out, is that my most valuable use of time? So the other things to keep in mind, just because somebody else is doing it and it's working for them, if it's not something that fits into what you do naturally every day, don't try to force it. The same can go with, sending a text message to just say, hey, I just wanted to check in on you. I saw on Facebook your mom's been sick. Everything well? They would, depending on your relationship with your client, they would much prefer that than dropping off a gift basket of some sort for a beach getaway. They don't care about a beach getaway right there. Right then, they care about the fact their mom's in the hospital and you just took a minute to say, do you need anything? Are you good? And so I'm saying Popeyes are great if that's something you're passionate about. Me, I have them for sale out there because I know me. If it comes down to me making a Popeye this week or our business shutting down, I'm a really good waitress at the end of the day if real estate doesn't work out. I hate doing it. So why am I going to make that a part of my business plan just because it's something that's working for somebody else? So don't focus too much on what everybody else is doing if it's not relevant to you. For people who have kids and things like that, your pop buys should be stuff at your school, stuff that your kids are doing. Like, this is how you're touching your sphere and your past clients. So make sure that whatever you're doing is really supporting your vision, bigger goals. You're not just doing it because somebody else said to do it and it sounds like a good idea.
Well, I have one thing about contacting past clients that I've always been a little.
I know exactly what you're going to say before you say it.
Is if I talk to them, are they going to say, well, I know why he's calling me. He just wants my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ask them for the business when you called?
Prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you did was check in. And when they hang up the phone and you never once asked them about their house, that's going to change their opinion right there.
Yeah.
The biggest hang up go ahead. You may be getting ready.
That's what I was going to say.
Uh-huh.
I thought the same thing. I thought you were going to say that you were afraid they were going to be unhappy because I struggled for years with they were happy as a clam on closing day. But what happens if they moved in that house and the next day the toilet broke and it's my fault? And they're mad at me this whole year that I haven't talked to them. So I never reached back out because I was terrified of what I would hear. The first time I did, it was life changing, and I've been mad at myself ever since. Right.
Well, to this day, all my best friends about houses for me, if we're sitting around just chit chatting and they're like HVAC, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't do anything. It's not my fault. HVACs are going to go out, but 13 years later, I still feel guilty if their HVAC goes out. I wish I could tell you that goes away. It doesn't. So you just have to get over, is it their issue or is it my issue? I was also anxious and still am. I've got a big goal this year to follow up my past clients as well, because I know I've seen people buy and sell houses. I've had people call me after the fact and say, I felt like you were too busy. You do all this new construction now. So I used this agent and this experience was terrible. And I'm like, that is my fault because I didn't let them know they are still a priority to me and they should have called me. And so now these conversations are going to be, I just wanted to check in. It has been a crazy 3 years since you closed. I looked down and saw it was 3 years. Can't believe it. How are you? How the heck are you? Does that sound weird, or does that sound like
And brother, it's a mindset thing, right?
Exactly.
It's your mindset, and if you're going into it with the intentions that you want to go into it with, which is loving kindness, gratefulness, all those things. I mean, really, if they're going to be mad at you about that, that's going to on them.
Exactly. That's a them problem, not a us problem. But to your point, that's why most realtors only check in around holidays, is because now we feel like we have a reason to call. We have a reason to call every day. Y'all, several people have already heard me use this example, but my coach gave me the biggest aha moment during COVID. He had a condo in another city, 2 hours away from him. He used a realtor, yada yada yada, to help him buy that. During COVID, that condo literally doubled in value. It went from $650,000 to over $1 million because the market went so berserk. He did not hear from his agent at all. About a year later, he calls his agent and he's like, "Hey, just wanted to check in, looking at moving some money around. Maybe you want to unload this or do something different. What do you think?" She's like, "Man, I wish we'd have talked a couple months ago. It was over $1 million. Now it's only about 800." He said, "Aren't you my advisor? Aren't you my real estate advisor? Why didn't you call and tell me my property was worth this? You've now cost me $200,000. That's a different conversation than we hear anybody else saying. And he was right. He is right. Our clients depend on us to let them know. We think we're being salesy. They think we're being informative. They don't do this every day. I literally had a 3-hour conversation, and the person, I felt like they bought and sold 2 houses. We're getting ready to rent their house. And then he said, "Can you explain to me exactly what equity means?" I was like, "Absolutely. It is the gap between what you owe versus what it's worth. That is what is considered your equity." He doesn't do this. He works on a farm. So we can't assume that people think we're always trying to sell them something too, because we are truly, if we put ourselves in that position, we are there just to be an advisor. So hopefully now that you've heard that example, that will take some fear away from you, because I know I'd be very upset if my realtor that I had in another state didn't call and let me know when my property was worth substantially more than I paid for it, but to pay you to be my advisor for. So don't forget, we're professionals, very good at our jobs at the end of the day. So everybody familiar with what a SMART goal is and all that. So I'm not going to go into those weeds. So creating your weekly execution plan. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the difference maker, is actually executing. So I'm just using some examples here because this is where most people fail. And what I find is people say, "Well, I want to go on more appointments." Okay, how many more appointments? Well, I want to go on 5 appointments. Okay, where are those appointments going to come from? I'm going to start making calls. Okay, who are you going to call? Well, I'm going to call these 3 leads that I have. Okay, well, that's not going to get you 5 appointments. So again, if you've ever done some regular goal setting, you got to back into these numbers. You got to start here. This is what I want to make. This is how many appointments I got to make. And you're going to, do the reverse engineering math to get into that. It is the same with the rest of these goals. That's why I said, I know it sounds neurotic, but when I make a goal of reading 12, 24 books a year, I have to say what that book is going to be. I have to know that January is going to be the pivot year, or it's going to be Who Not How. That's what I'm reading right now. So, because if I don't, I'm going to be like, "Oh yeah, I got to read a book this month. Got to read a book this month." And then January 31st is going to read it, roll around. I'm like, "Oh, I never picked a book." Well, now I got to start over next month. And then that's already got me behind on my goals. So the same thing, you've got to figure out where your business, if this is one of your goals to go on more appointments, then you've got to start with, where am I going to get these appointments from? And that is what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm talking too fast. My brain's moving too fast. You got to work on this weekly execution plan. So this example right here, 5 more listing appointments, which means I need 20 daily follow-ups, consistent outreach in order to hit this goal, which means, let's see, I've got another one of relationship building. So I need to do 2 builder check-ins this week. I've got this up here and I'm happy to pass this out. I did not make it. I get it from Agent Academy, which is where I get a lot of stuff, but this is an easy day tracker. If I'm not even going to ask, because I know how many of us have looked back at the end of the day like, "I'm so busy. What did I get done? But what did I actually do? I answer all my emails. I answer the phone every time it rings. But did I do anything proactive for my business?" This is an easy way to just track literally what you're doing all day, every day. And maybe that's where you start in building out this plan, is what am I doing now? I'm getting ahead of my slides. What am I doing now that's working? And what am I doing that's not working? So obviously not following up is not working. So what is a quick change that we can make to do that? And then how do we continue to break it down even further. This was life-changing for me to hear as somebody who has control issues, a little bit of HDHD, perfection complex, and people pleasing. It was really hard to be told you don't measure results, you measure execution. I'm like, but if I don't get the end result, did it really matter? Because yes, the reason that I'm as successful as I have is because I still show up every freaking day. I will still do an open house every weekend if I want to. I will still I am not above doing anything that I did 20, and this person will tell you because she's been alongside me the exact same amount of time. 20 years ago, I would do it today if I needed to. If you come into this office, if I'm not here, it's because I'm at an appointment. I still go to work every day. I treat it like a 9 to 5, even though it's a 24/7. I'm not saying everybody else has to do that because you do have to clock off and check out. And if I get my eyelashes done at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, worry about yourself. We got to do what we got to do. But I treat this like a job. I wake up every day, put your clothes on, go to work. And that's how everybody should treat this career. That's, again, a soapbox moment. But you've got to measure your execution. Each week, you get a percentage score based on your completed actions, and you'll see this in your workbook. And this was really kind of game changing for me. And this is where the audit starts to come into play. It's not just, did I accomplish this goal? It's how far did I move my needle towards this goal? And that's what you're auditing every week. 85% is your target score of what you should be executing. Again, this is really hard for me to listen to and read this book. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go for 100. When I sat down and actually did an audit, I very rarely hit 100. And I was like, this is why my needle's not moving. I am busy as can be. I think I'm having all these appointments and all this is happening. But when I sit down and the things that I was supposed to be focusing on making happen, those were the things that were not moving forward. And it was because I was getting easily distracted. We get easily distracted in this industry because we're Pop-Tarts. The phone rings, we're supposed to pop out and show a house. We're supposed to pop up here and go to this listing appointment and this, that, and the other. So things can throw us off our game easily if we do not have a consistent plan in place to make sure that we are staying hyper-focused on what it is we want to accomplish. So weekly review and environment control. So your weekly accountability, the 3 questions you ask yourself every week, and there's literally a score sheet in here in this workbook where you're going to write down what are your 3 main things. And then you're going to break it down even farther, kind of use an example, follow up. Okay, I'm going to call the A's through the C's. I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this. And then every week you're like, did I call all the A's through the C's? Well, I called A's through B's and then I got hung up. Life happened, whatever. All right, well, now I need to take those C's and put them on the next week and keep it going. And now I got to get through the rest of those and more. And as long as you're hitting that 85%, you should be trucking really hard towards your goal. I mean, at least 85%. And then you're telling yourself what worked, what didn't, and what will I adjust. To your point, Rob, following up with your past clients, the first phone call you make, you get the worst client you ever had on the phone. And he was like, I can't believe you're calling me right now. My HVAC went out 4 years ago. And you say, I'm so sorry. I wish you would have called me. I have a list of people I could have helped you, get it assessed. Have you thought about getting a warranty? Remember, I'm your resource for all things real estate. I don't want you to think I'm just here to help you buy and sell. Man, I wish you would have called me. I would have loved to have helped. You see, I completely disarmed him now. It's not our fault. It's his fault. How can you be mad at me over something I didn't even know about? So, kill him with kindness. So in that example, if you hung up the phone right then and said, well, this is why I don't call any of my past clients and do anything else, so that's what they're doing. Well, that kind of result where you're going to get. But it's still important to recognize that conversation happened, because if you'd have let that stop you, that would have been one of the things, well, this didn't work. So now I need to change my approach, because I can't fault you for thinking, okay, calling these people and getting blessed out over something I had nothing to do with 4 years ago was not on my list for Monday. Okay, well, that didn't work. So what works next? You know what? Maybe I'm going to shoot a text message to just 5 clients today and say, hey, I was in your neighborhood just thinking about you. Does anybody else find that weird? I mean, I know I get purity offended if I find out somebody's down the road from me and they didn't even stop to see if I was at home, And so why would anybody mind if you're like, I was down the street from you? I hate to say this, I'm not a liar, but if I am within 5 miles, it's down the street from me. I'm in the country. The crow flies, we're down the street. So if I'm 5 miles from you and I'm like, you know what? I just thought about you today. Is there any harm in that? So this is what I'm saying. Like, just change. If it didn't work, just change how you're doing it so that you're not giving yourself an excuse the next week not to make the call, because I don't want to get fussed out like I did last week. Not an excuse. And then what will I adjust? So that's what I'm saying. Just adjust what you're doing if how you did it didn't work. And then make sure you're rewarding yourself for what worked. Hey, at least I made the freaking phone call. We on our team we do what's called Monday Mayhem. Listen, I never cold called. That's not how I built my career. I built my career on open houses. If you ever want to hear more about that, I'll always tell you. But I do, one of my mentors is Tina Call. She built her entire business on cold calling. She moved here from another state. She just hit the phone book, started calling people. I'm like, I could never. But I recognize that there is still a value in cold calling. There is still a value because we don't know how many people are sitting out there, like this person I was talking to last night who bought and sold 2 houses and still didn't know what equity really means. We use it all day, every day because we assume everybody does. So we don't know who really needs our help if we don't call and ask. I think we've been so ingrained that we are salespeople that we forgot that we're still people first. And our going on down a rabbit hole, I'm sorry, but our world is craving real, genuine human interaction. So what a better time than genuinely just call to check in on somebody and see how they're doing. And then controlling your environment. Your environment determines your behavior. This is why I said I am still in this office every day. I make a point to try to get here earlier than I did the day before yesterday, just so I can feel like I gave myself more time than I did to get stuff done. So calendar blocking, having phone boundaries, and saying no to distractions. When I say no, trust me, you're talking to the queen of yes. I love to say yes and jump in and help and raise my hand and all the things. But saying no to things that are truly not a distraction is key. And you're going to know if it needs to be a no based on these goals that you have written out. So if somebody asks you something and you look down at it and you're like, I would love to, but right now I have this that I have got to knock out. Is there any way I can say yes and maybe sign up for that or maybe agree to help you or maybe next quarter or in 3 weeks? There's nothing wrong with that. And again, I am a recovering people pleaser, so it's very hard for me to say and do. But you get to a point where you really don't have any more time, energy, or bandwidth. And if you let other people steal it, then they're just going to rob you of what you're trying to accomplish in your goals. So calendar blocking does not have to be this rigid, from 9 to 12, I don't answer my phone. And then maybe I get to eat lunch for 11 minutes. And then maybe I get to do this. And no, but it needs to be systematized in something that you will stick to. I am not a morning person. I do not wake up 5 a.m. because I am spry. I'm the exact opposite. I started waking up at 5 a.m. because I had to find more time in my day. The older you get, for several of y'all, the harder it is to stay up later and still function at a high level. When my daughter was little and I started my real estate career at 23, I could stay up to 1 a.m. writing blog posts and doing this and MLS descriptions. Lord, don't let me near a computer after about 9 because I'm tired. My brain is tired and that's not my best time. So I have made myself a morning person now by saying this is a non-negotiable. I have to start setting a calendar so that I feel like I'm getting ahead of this industry and this world before it starts grabbing at me. Just FYI. A lot of times I do this. I'm like, well, it must be nice. You like to wake up at 5 a.m. No, don't. No, not even a little. It is out of necessity. And that's why I started a Zoom call so that if I know other people are getting on, then I have to get up. That's an accountability thing. Everybody's like, you do that because you just like talking to people at 5 a.m.? Not at all. I do it because if I know they're sitting on Zoom, I will get my butt out of bed. So it's an accountability thing. All right, your lead versus lag indicators. So lag indicators are outcome-based metrics that tell you what happened, and they're easier to measure but harder to influence. So examples include closings, income, and growth. While crucial for measuring success, they reflect performance after execution has occurred. But let me tell you what I hear when I sit on one-on-ones and I sit in mentoring sessions and coaching sessions. The first thing they say is, well, I don't want to set my goal so high that I don't miss it because then I'm going to get discouraged and then it's going to get me thrown off. But I don't want to set it so low because then once I get there, I might take my foot off the gas. And I'm like, so where do you want to go? So this is the difference between those lag indicators. Some of us are completely driven by the end result. I tend to be one of those people, which, like I said, was why it was really hard for me to find out, like, if I only do 85%, that's okay, because that doesn't feel like 100. But it's because I know how many houses I want to sell at the end of the year. I know how many books I want to read. I know this, that, and the other. But one thing I learned a long time ago that I needed somebody else to tell me is it's also okay when you do your goals, when you reflect your goals at the end of the year, which you should be doing, and I'll tell you how I do that later, is I have a but I did list. Because there's always opportunity that pops up that year that you started doing things that you didn't even have on your goals list. And that needs to be applauded as well. You know, there are times that I didn't read all the books that I wanted to do, but you know what? I started a Bible study group. I didn't get this, and that. I didn't sell as many houses as I wanted to do, but I did not miss one thing at my daughter's school. So make sure you have a but I did list, because just because it wasn't on there beginning of the year doesn't mean it's not important that you accomplished it at the end of the year. So what we need to focus on are our lead indicators, which are your proactive daily and weekly actions. If you guys are not familiar with or have not read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, he does a motivational email every morning. He sends out at 3 a.m. He is great. But the book he wrote is called The Compound Effect, and it talks about the little changes, the little things you do every day are really at the end of the day what helps you achieve more. If anybody ever has put on weight, you realize you didn't put on weight from that one extra bowl of ice cream you ate. It is the 5 extra bowls of ice cream. And then next week it was the 3 of these, and it all just starts to compound. And you don't see the 5 pounds you gain as soon as you eat it. You see it when you go on a cruise and you have to put on a bathing suit after winter weather, sweater weather. And then you're like, oh, that's where the came from. But anyway, again, I use weight because that's it. We can all resonate with that. You're right. I didn't eat ice cream today and gain 5 pounds tomorrow. It all compounded over 5 days of eating ice cream. And then now you can see the results, and it may be a negative result that you didn't mean to happen. But that's what happens when you fall away from following up daily. Then you get to where I was, and I was like, well, now I have 4,000 people to follow, but I can't possibly do that. Now it's too big and too overwhelming. And so we say, never mind. I'll just work on it next year or next month or next week when I have more time. Who has ever found that mythical more time that we're supposed to have? No, it never shows up. I love when I look at my calendar, I'm like, well, next week looks pretty clear. Come see me next week and ask me how clear my week is. So the proactive daily, weekly actions are the things that you are directly in control of, and that is what drives your future results. The making the calls, the attending meetings, and the consistent follow-ups, and focusing on that empowers you to proactively shape your outcomes. So the big distinction is lead indicators are predictive and controllable, representing the effort you put in. Lag indicators are results-based and reactive. Unfortunately, we are built to chase the results based and not the but I did. But I also did this. I was consistent in this. Okay, so the 12-week reset and common mistakes. So the biggest thing is to review and analyze your performance honestly. Look at yourself. Give yourself a true, imagine that because you are a self-employed person. That means your job is to go out and provide for your family every day. The best part about our job is that we are in control. The worst part about our job is we're in control. Nobody's telling us you got to get up, you got to be at work by 9, you got to do this, you got to do that. Nobody's telling us we have to do anything. Therefore, whatever we do feels like what we were supposed to do because we didn't really have a plan. So analyze and review your own performance. Did you put in all the effort that you possibly could? Did you put in all the time? Did you put in all the energy that you possibly could on that particular day, on that particular task? Celebrate and acknowledge your wins. So when you do what you're supposed to do, let's just say you blow through the first week because most of your clients do not have the last name A through B, and you have only 12, and you go ahead and you look at next week and you're like, next week it's going to be tough because there's 50 some names. You don't stop yourself from starting on next week's list today, but that is not the way we've been trained. How many people waited to start something on January 1st? That's the way we're trained. We can't start today. It's not the first. We can't start today. It's not Monday. So that's what I was talking about a minute ago. Our team does Monday Mayhem where we start making cold calls. We start following up with our past clients. We start touching our sphere. We create mayhem by being on the phone all day on Mondays. You know why we do a Monday? Hardest day of the week to commit to it. You know what we did this year? The first Monday of the year. Do you know the agents who showed up and got a handful of appointments? Do you think they would have necessarily got that business the very first week of the year had we not shown up on the hardest day at the hardest time to do the hardest task? No, I hate to say it because we're all like, we've got 51 more weeks to worry about. I can't wait to get those appointments next week because it sounds easier next week than it does this week. But that's not how it works. So also, if you never read the book, Eat the Frog, You do the hard things first. That's the only way they're going to get done. I'm also a natural procrastinator. This got done at 5:40 this morning. I'm not going to lie on the presentation because it was not the top priority that I had. And I knew I could get it done. And I feel like it's 85%. Hopefully y'all do too. At least.
I think I would have known if you hadn't told us.
Thank you.
True.
I did have the picture up there. I've got it back in our office. It says done is better than perfect, and it's spelled DUN. And I had that up there first, and I can't even take it. The fact that it's misspelled is killing me. So that didn't even say that. But all of that to say done really is better than perfect. Your clients would rather have just some type of communication from you than nothing at all. Having no communication accomplishes absolutely nothing, if not the opposite effect. I have a lot of orphan clients that I have, and we call them orphans because their agents completely drop them in the dust. You see this a lot, especially when you do new construction. The amount of clients I have now because they just bought one of my new construction listings, and it's like all of a sudden I become their go-to, and I'm thinking, where is your agent? Agent dropped them like yesterday's lunch after they closed, and they never heard from them again. So, anyway, reset and set new goals media. That's where I was. So you get through A through B's, and you're like, see, that wasn't so hard. Next week's going to be tougher with C through D's. I go ahead and start on my C's. Why not? I'm on a roll. Got momentum going. My agents that were in here Monday, they didn't be like, 2 appointments, I'm out. Y'all have a good day. That was great. That was fun. No, you keep going. Avoid the mistakes, too many goals, overcomplicating the plan. Again, so by that, again, I told you I want to read this many books. I'm going to write how many books I'm going to write out which books they are. That's just to give me a roadmap. But if another book pops up and I decide I want to read that instead, I'm going to swap them out, guys. This is not written in concrete. This is in pencil. So don't overcomplicate it, and make sure you're scoring yourself weekly, and do not confuse activity with execution. Just because you're busy and you're tired does not mean that you actually moved your needle forward. And then waiting to feel ready. Who still has not been to the gym yet this year? If I'm being honest. Yeah, I've been waiting to feel ready. I haven't had time. I dropped the frozen ham on my toe this morning. I can give you 8 more excuses if you need them. I don't need one, but I have them. All right. So, because you're here, good news, you're in the first week of the year. So your next 12 weeks starts now. So clarity creates focus. Focus creates execution. Execution creates results. And I will tell you, the number one thing I think we all struggle with, especially in real estate, but in being an entrepreneur, is where do I start? And that is what I feel like the gift of this book is. It makes you not only say, where do I start, but how do I do it? It gives you literally a guideline for mapping out your goals. And so what I would encourage you all to do now is take your entire goals list and go, how specific is this goal? And how realistic is this goal? And when do I want this goal to happen? When do I actually foresee this happening? So for instance, I have a goal of writing a devotional. I had the goal last year, didn't happen. Guess what? It went right over on this year's list. I already know that is not on my Q1. I have 1,400 things that I'm just trying to get buttoned up from the end of Q4 of last year. That I don't even look at it. I mean, it's in the back of my mind all the time. If I see something, I hear something, it's on the list. And so I've got like a running little kind of devotional idea list over here. So I can put stuff in it when I want to, but I'm not going to hardcore focus on it until I've worked through some of my other priorities that are very important to me. And breaking the execution points down from that point becomes so much easier, because now you're not trying to eat an elephant all at one time. You're looking at your elephant and you're going, all right, I can handle this part here. I can handle this part here. And I can handle this part here. And you're giving yourself the space to say, when am I going to have the capacity for this? You know what I also don't do? I don't put time sensitive, load bearing tasks in Q4. Because let's be honest, we are trying to get stuff done. We're trying to finish up our year. We got those breakneck paces. And for whatever the rest of the world is also trying to buy and sell real estate, but they also just want to be off for the holidays. And so it is this spasticness that happens from October, November, and December. Am I right? I mean, it's like you get in the holiday brain and nobody can function normally anymore. So Q4, just as a tip, is not the good time to feel like this is where we're going to pull it out. Nope. That is what Q3 is for. That is what Q3 is for. My team will tell you when they walk in, it is still 98 degrees outside, first day of August. I'm like, who's ready for Christmas? And I'm not that Christmas person, by the way. I'm the Grinch by nature because anyway, Christmas is just extra now. But all of that to say, I'm looking at them and I'm going, I want you to understand everything you're going to do from now on is Christmas money. Every deal, every open house, every contract, I need you to think Christmas money because we all used to think about Christmas money about November. Like, well, we got to start saving Christmas. And that's when you're like, there is nothing to. And also, by the way, it gets to be seasonal and you feel like, oh my gosh, we're slowing down. The business is off. It sets in because everybody's being crazy because it's the holidays. And then you have years like this year where people are slinging contracts on Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve. And it's like, it is what luckily, I didn't have all of these really heavy things that I was supposed to focus on this quarter because I know it can get wonky around the holidays. So keep that in mind too when you're breaking this stuff out. That might have been it. Great. So you don't need a better year. You need a better 12 weeks. All right. So somebody else give me an example of something we can break down for you in 12 weeks. Or does anybody have any questions on anything we've talked about so far?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I think my biggest thing is when you think of your goal, and then we're gonna go home. We're all gonna do this at our desk all by ourselves, and you go.
We don't have to. We can say here.
What is the next step? What if my goal is XYZ? Then how do I get there? Right? What if your brain is not imagined enough to think about what those steps are?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that question, Caitlin. So I would also encourage everyone to have an accountability partner. So when we did this as a group on my 5 a.m. club, literally every Monday, first thing it was like, all right, who wants their scores? Go down the list and tell me what you did. So you need to be turning this into someone. If it's your spouse, that's fine. If it's your boss, if it's your teammate, if it's just another whoever, just make sure this is in front of somebody else. The amount of times I tell my husband, like, hey, I really had planned to do this month, but I didn't get it done. And he looks at me like, all right.
Okay.
I just need it out of my brain to feel like I'm being held accountable. Like I am saying out loud, I really wanted to get this done and it did not happen yet. Yeah, Shelby.
Suggestion on that because if I told my husband, he'd be like, it's okay, babe, you got next week, right? I don't need that. I need someone to be like, why didn't you get this done?
Yeah.
Like, you need to get this done. Stop. Like, I don't need someone to just, I can fluff it off all by myself. I don't need an accountability partner that'll fluff it off for me. So, like, get somebody that intimidates the crap out of you.
Mhm.
Yeah. And, like, you don't want to let down. Like, I don't want to let this person down. I don't want to tell them I didn't do this. That's the person that I need as far as accountability is concerned. Because if I have her, she'll be like, look at it. Yeah, and I love that about her. But that's not what I need to hear. And we'll be we need Ollie. We need Ollie. We need like why?
You're that's stupid.
But you do need somebody that has good discernment that's going to help you poke holes in this. Like I said, I look at a lot. Am I trying to say this? Like when I'm trying to tell someone, don't focus on what somebody else is doing. That sounds all good and fine to hear, but in reality, it's like, but they make it look so fun. They make it like this. But again, if it's not the thing for you, then don't focus on that. Make sure you're focusing on what is important for you and your goal. So again, I don't want anybody up here to be like, oh crap, it's a goal to read 12 books a year. I don't do that. Well, now I need to add that to my goal list. No, you don't, unless you really like reading and unless you're doing personal and self-development and also teaching personal and self-development. I don't know that you need to read 12 books a year. So don't ever look at anybody else's goals as they need to be yours, because you know what? I also don't have 2 babies at home. So if I want to sit and read a book at night, it's not a big deal. So you got to remember, and I heard this a long time ago, you do not compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20.
Right.
Y'all ain't even in the same book. Your book is your book for a reason. So what I do for my goals, I literally have a Google Doc, and I start with my headers. My whole brain, if you haven't noticed, works as like a syllabus. Is it where I start with 1 and then it goes to 2 and then paragraph A, and then I just keep breaking it down further. That's how my brain works. And so that's how I do my goals. I start with health. What am I going to do? I have started with weight loss goals. I have started, what I'm at right now? I want to close on my rings every day, because there are days I'm not going to make a mile. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm being very realistic with myself. I also know I need to move my body every day somehow, some way. So I multitask a lot. There's a walking pad underneath my desk. You see me walk around the office and make phone calls and stuff like that. So make sure these goals are something, again, that resonates with you, that you can do. So I break mine down, health, family, this, that, and I use the little checks, I mean, the little boxes and everything because I'm a checklist person. I love it. I have those going all the way down. And then at the end of every year, I literally hit copy. I go through it, paste, and I start over. Because there's always stuff I didn't get done. Always. But I don't want to leave those things behind. So that's what I'm saying. I know I had a goal of getting a devotional done. When July hit and my mom ended up in the hospital and hospice and everything else, so many of those goals had to take a back burner. And that's fine. And I immediately in my brain went, you know what? This might be a 2026 thing. And that is, I'm giving y'all space that is okay. But the day-to-day business things, the really big rocks in your goals, those are those things that you have to make space for. And what happens is everything seems high and mighty and big over here until you get to here. And then you're like, well, crap, now I didn't make it. And it's everything that you could have been doing here that would have been so much easier. And at least if you don't fully hit your goal, you're like, okay, well, I have tracked myself all 52 weeks, and I at least know that I showed up more than 85% of myself for myself. We cannot define what happens in the market. We cannot define what happens in our life, let's be honest. However, we can define how we show up every day. And that really is where the rubber meets the road in the execution. So I'm happy to chat through more if you're like, hey, because you made a comment, you said my goal. And I'm like, there should be way more than goal. Nobody is defined by a number of transactions. Nobody. Yes, go ahead.
Well, when I was hearing you talk, and then you said something about the non-negotiable. Talk a little bit more about that. Like you mentioned your 5 a.m. because you know you've got somebody accountable. But like, is it 10 contacts a day or something like, or I might not get to read any of this book I wanted to, but I'm going to make 10 contacts, whether it's with my past clients or, checking in with the builder. So talk about a few of those that are like, or when you meet with your team, like, what are some things that, are non-negotiable? Like these need to be at the top.
Perfect. Yeah. So again, every area of my life has a non-negotiable. So the 5 a.m. club is to give me that space I need. And the non-negotiable is once I get off that call, I do my devotions. Like that's where it started, is that I was making time for everybody else in my life except for me and God. And so for me, that's the non-negotiable that starts there. And then the next one is move your body in some shape, form, or fashion. And then the next one, it kind of depends on what's going on. But to your point, 10 contacts a day. My coach, who's multi-million-dollar agent out of Arizona, he will tell you you could be as rich as you want to be if you make 20 contacts a day. And he said you can take that to any business, any industry. Every major business is built on relationships. I was reading a thing by Jesse Itzler this morning. If you don't follow him, he is wild and crazy and is married to Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx. So obviously we love her. But he was in a meeting and he was pitching a jingle to the New York Yankees. And he said, we'd barely made it. Like we'd only had one jingle got sold. And that's the only reason we even got this meeting to begin with, is because they had heard our jingle and thought, hey, you sound kind of neat. In the same meeting, they're like, oh, by the way, we're getting ready to roll out these VIP box seats. You're the first one to hear about them because you're standing in the office. You interested? He put in the post this morning. He said, I had made $37,000 that year. These tickets cost $324,000. I did not have that money. He said, I had to have a really hard conversation with myself on how does this even possibly make sense? He said, but I realized the relationships that I can make with the people that would be in that box was invaluable. He said, the very next year, I'm sharing seats with Jay-Z. And now I can sell my tickets for any amount of money, pretty much. He said, but it's the relationships and the network that I put myself in by making that decision that makes all the difference. So if you are not talking to as many people as you possibly can and creating a relationship with somebody, you are doing yourself a disservice because you don't know who's waiting around the corner who could literally change your life. Yes.
Okay, so I just read the 12-week year. Finished it up the other night. And correct me if I'm wrong, what I think I'm kind of getting out of this is, okay, just for easy numbers, right? So let's say you want to close on 28 houses this year. So that divided by 4 quarters, which is essentially the 12 weeks, that's 7 closings every 12 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So it almost sounds like when you're planning and deciding what your activities are going to do, you're breaking it down to, okay, what do I have to do to get those 7 closings in 12 weeks? Now, essentially, and let's just throw it out a number. Essentially, it's like, okay, I need to make 20 phone calls a week.
in order to do that, whether it's past clients or whatever it is. So on your 12-week plan, it's always going to say make 20 calls each week to get to those 7 closings. And then you get to the end of that 12 weeks and you're able to evaluate, okay, did this work? Did this not work? If it didn't, then maybe you increase it to 25 calls the next 12 weeks. But essentially, like you're still like it kind of stays the same each 12 weeks, but it's like an easier way to break down and look at it and say, okay, did I accomplish the goal and what do I need to do rather than wait until like you say, November and going, crap, I didn't do it. Yes, and kind of. So the biggest differentiator with this is you're not looking at it 12 weeks from now, you're looking at it every week. So the first week, you're like, I made my 20 calls and you're doing your audit that Monday. You're doing your scorekeeping and you're like, I made my 20 calls. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Did I get 3 appointments? No. Okay. Well, I know that I need at least 3 appointments if I'm going to have a chance of closing 7 deals. So, all right, I go into week 2 and I do my week. I go back and I'm doing my audit and I made my 20 calls and I got 1 appointment. I'm now going, okay, what did I do differently? What worked and what didn't? Okay, now I'm through week 2, right? I'm doing week 3. I get into week 3 and I made my 20 calls. I'm like, you know what? I'm still not where I need to be on my goal. Maybe I should make 25 calls. Let me try that. Let me see if I can get 4 appointments. And so then you do your audit on week 4, and now you're starting to see some traction and the difference is the weekly audit. Okay. If you wait till week 12, that's when you just realize that you're not hit your 7 that you needed for 12. Mm-hmm. It's the what you're checking on yourself every week. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, some of that, like your overarching goal, like a transaction goal, stuff like that is going to move with you throughout the year. It's breaking down the other things that are going to be what changes over the quarter. So just taking in your transaction goal as an example. So we know we want to have 7 closings and you're going to contact 20 people, but then there's going to be other things that you do in addition to contacting 20 people. And what do those look like? And that's where you start putting it on the other lines. And then what is another goal that you possibly have? So make sure that, you know, when you're filling out your top 3, it's not just transactions and stuff on transactions. It's transactions, it's go see my mom 4 times. It's other things so that you feel like you're fulfilling all of your goals. Because what happens is we prioritize our own goals at the beginning of the year and we are only solely focused on certain things. Who really actually brings their goals out all year long and looks at them like, yep, I'm on my way. In a vision board, you hang it up and you look at it and you see the boat and you're like, that'll be great. At least January. I don't want a boat. And then July gets here and you're like, I'm supposed to have a boat by now, but I don't have a boat. Yeah. This freaking market's terrible and I don't have a boat. You didn't think about the fact that you didn't make any calls in January and February. You might be on your boat in July. So you can have a vision board in front of you all day long, but if you're not doing the things about the boat, it doesn't matter how many good you can vision board. So that is the magic of this is the weekly accountability to yourself. Did I do the little minutia small, move the needle forward things every week? Did it work and did it not? If yes, great, then I need to do this. If no, then I need to change and pivot here. The problem is we typically recognize that we're not on the way to our goals after it. We feel like it's too late and then there's nothing we can do about it. So the answer is yes, but that weekly check-in, to his point, that's the non-negotiable. You got to check in with yourself every week. Did I make my calls? Did I go on my appointments? No, if not, why? And I do a weekly check-in with my agents. You know, we have our team meetings, but then we also have like a Monday Mary check-in, and it's a different question every week. And it's not because I'm nosy. Yeah, I love them, and I want to know what they're got going on. I want them to ask themselves that question. Sometimes it's like, did you go on as many appointments as you could? Did you call as many people as you could? Are you proud of what you did last week? You don't ask yourself that every week. So it's important somebody else is asking you these questions. Yes, ma'am.
One thing I'd say too is I'm not on the phone. I'm an in-person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about service. I'm about checking on my people, the ones that have had babies, the ones that are getting ready to get married, the ones that are sick. I am big on my database and all my past clients. They get a lot of my attention.
Mm-hmm. That is the number one thing that you could and should do to be successful.
Not just on the phone. I mean, sometimes these new agents get tied up on, oh, I got to get on the phone 150,000 times. No, that's not how I built my business.
Right.
I mean, I actually built mine through open houses, contact people I'm seeing all the time. You know,
And that's
It's so important to get in their face too, though.
Well, and to that point, that's one of the ways that you gauge what's working and what's not. You can't just have somebody swoop in on Facebook and make 3 comments and think that you're maintaining a relationship. If we looked at people in real life as we do on social media, we would realize that these are not accurate types of relationships. So I have a past client. She's now homebound now. I message her on Facebook. I text her when I'm in the neighborhood. She could care less about a pop by. You know what? She wants 30 minutes of my time to just say, how are you doing? I have had clients leave in their will that they wanted to use me. Like that is how you make an impression on, because I stayed in contact with these people and I didn't just act as a realtor, I acted as somebody who cared about them. And so
You did care.
because I really do care.
That's it right there. You
Yeah.
can't fake that. I
Right.
mean,
And I think we could all say that about almost all of our past clients. We all have those that we don't care for. But if you come at all of this from a place of I care and that is why I'm doing this, and that is your underlying motivation. That is another thing I will say, and I know I'm running over, I'm sorry, but motivation is a farce. It's not a real thing. Nobody in this room has more motivation than anybody else. It is not a physical, tangible, I can't give it to you, I can't take it from you. It is not an actual thing. Motivation is just, am I being driven enough by what I really want to do this? At the end of the day. And the reason I love this so much, other than the fact that my brain works this way, the reason this was so great for me, because what I wasn't doing, I could break it down all day long, but then I wasn't going back and checking on myself because I don't have anybody else. That's the hardest part about being a team leader is nobody else is going back. Did you do your calls? Did you do what you're supposed to do? Sometimes I respond to the Monday Mayhem just so somebody else knows that I'm thinking about this too. I don't know that last week was as great as I wanted it to be. Thank you for asking. There's nothing wrong with having constructive feedback with yourself and constructive conversations with yourself. Yes.
Can you just talk about real quick? I know we're over, but how important it is, especially at the beginning of this, time blocking and to write this stuff down, especially that check-in on Monday morning with yourself. Like put that on your calendar too. Because if we don't, I speak for myself. If I don't do that, it won't.
Right. So again, it goes back to that weekly audit. You can do it on a Sunday, you can do it on a Monday, but at the end of the day, you should be checking in with yourself and be able to track, did I do what I told myself I was going to do or not? And if I didn't, why didn't I? And where can I make sure that doesn't happen again? So those are the biggest things. I mean, it's one thing to the point Shelby made to be like, oh, I didn't do this. And I'm like, it's okay. But if you told that person the same, I love your husband too, but I guarantee if you told Justin every week, hey, didn't do what I was supposed to do again. But he eventually stopped saying, well, that's okay, honey. Eventually he'd be like, when are you going to do what you said you were going to do? You need to talk to yourself that way too. I give myself grace and space, but I also look at myself hard in the mirror and say, hey, girlfriend, get it together. And, that's why I say, even when clients knock you down, circumstances, whatever knocks you down, you can get down, but you can't stay there. There's no fun in that. So the biggest thing, like I said, is making stuff as specific as possible. So I know I'm still trying to figure out more of the non-negotiables that you were talking about. I mean, the contacts are one of them. A stupid one for me is all my emails are checked before I go to bed. Like I have a keeping my email below a certain number. Like it just makes my brain function better this way. Find out what those things are for you. Like if I know, like if I just run out the door and I don't do my devotion and I don't journal and I don't do this, I feel like I'm hair on fire all day long. And that's what led to me honestly making it a rule for myself that I get up at 5 a.m. because my day is, if I start out hair on fire, you better believe the rest of my day is going to be like that. There's no getting out of the tornado. And I used to say that all the time. I'm a tornado looking for somewhere to land all the time, but I now know where my landing pad is. I start there and I end there every day. And that is important for you to figure out for yourself because this business is so feast or famine, so go, go, go. You feel like I have to take on everything that gets thrown at me. And you do to a degree, but people are starting to get more patient. People are starting to understand boundaries. I had this argument with somebody the other day about agents being like, my hours are 8 to 8. I said, when I hear that, I feel like if I call you at 7:30, I expect you to answer. But if I were to call you at 7:30 on a normal day, my first thought would be, well, she's probably at dinner. She's probably tucking her kids in or giving her kids a bath. But because you told me your hours are 8 to 8, I'm thinking she was putting it out there as a boundary. But I was thinking, well, then I expect a phone call back before 8 o'clock. You see how people hear, we put our own assumptions and thoughts on what people are thinking and saying and doing. And we need to pull that back. And again, if you are consistently in your business, on your business, and you're doing the same mundane things every day, it's automatically going to start to compound and build. And I think where we're most guilty is chasing the next thing. Where do I go next? Okay, had that closing, got to go find my next closing. Then you just dart after it instead of going, but before I do that, let me call these 10 people that nothing may or may not come of, but let me make sure I do this. I'm going to do that, because then by Friday, where you're out here chasing the next deal, 3 of the people that you talked to on Monday are like, things are reaching back out. Now that I've talked to you, actually, I was thinking that my sister said she might be selling her house. Is that something you can help with too? It's because of what you did Monday that set the groundwork for Friday. But on Monday, you weren't even thinking of, all you were thinking about was where my next deal is coming from. And so you don't even start to lay the groundwork of what needed to happen, because we're too busy looking up here that we're not doing the things that have to be done first. And the only way you're going to know what needs to be done is to figure out how you need to get to your goal and then break it down into the next steps on the staircase. I mean, we all know we want to be at the top. How many steps is it going to take me to get there? How many steps can I walk in a day? Then I can know when I'm going to get to my goal. What other questions? And anybody has to go, you can totally leave. Nobody's stuck here, I promise. But I want to make sure if anybody wants to work on this together, has other questions, happy to walk through it. But yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that I'm on Facebook sometimes, and when they talk about like, hey, learn how to do this, hey, this master class, and I do a lot of that. So I get all this information, then I take it, I write it down, and then I might not use it. But one of the things that I did do was you buy this folder that has a bunch of different pockets, and my folder only goes to 24, but they say a 30 pocket folder where that you can open up, get big index cards, and write each contact's information on there, like notes, and physically have it. Like we have our database for me in the MLS, where I save everybody's information, little notes about them, but to physically have it. That way you can put how many times you touch them. Like I send them a text on Monday. Okay, I'm going to touch them again in 2 weeks. Put it for that particular date 2 weeks later. And then on that every day you pull it out. I know it probably sounds weird hearing it, but maybe you can explain a little bit.
Well, I'm, Rolodex old in real estate here. So what you just explained is what we used to know as a Rolodex. But to be honest, it is a visual representation of what needs to happen next. And some people are paper, some people are, all electronic. Whatever works for you is the way to do it. But to your point, I've looked at doing that for for cards every month. Like I'm gonna go ahead and separate who I'm sending cards to every month of the year. I'm gonna put the cards in there, and all I gotta do is pull my pack out in January. And all I need to do is make an hour now to write out cards. But if I thought I got to send cards to everybody in a month, let me make the time to do it. And who am I going to send my card to? And then I got to go get the cards. Guess what? I've already spent so much time. I've talked myself out of even doing it because I don't have time to do that. But if I had to take the next time I was in dollar store a minute to just buy 52 cards, I'm going to send a card a week to somebody, and I'm going to put, 4 in January and 4 in February, and they're right there. I have no excuses. So part of this is also breaking it down to where you're eliminating any speed bumps and any excuses, because nothing should be so overwhelming because you've broken it down into action steps. To your point. But that is a really great idea. And that's what I say, figure out what works for you that you're actually going to do. CRMs are not easy. I'm the first one that, I'm a spreadsheet kind of person. I can do really well with a spreadsheet, but I also need stuff paper in my hand, which is how I need my calendar. Mm-hmm. So whatever works for you to keep up with that. Like I said, I like that example for sure. Just, y'all haven't heard of Google Keep yet. Thank you. It is a running checklist. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. You too. Thank you for